In my last life, Sophia's childhood sweetheart, Caleb, was developing a proprietary EV battery. It exploded, taking him with it and driving Vance Automotive to the brink of bankruptcy overnight. Without a second thought, I married Sophia and took over the mess Caleb left behind. I poured my blood, sweat, and tears into the company, developing a new generation of smart electric vehicles that dragged Vance Automotive from the ashes back to the pinnacle of the industry. Then, on the day of our IPO, at the bell-ringing ceremony, Sophia publicly accused me of murdering Caleb and stealing his research. The entire Vance family called me a backstabbing, ungrateful bastard. Sophia was the one who sent me to prison, where I was tortured and left to die. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day Arthur Vance was set to decide who would lead the new vehicle initiative. At the head of the boardroom table, the old man's brow was deeply furrowed. "Ethan," he said, his voice heavy, "you and Caleb both grew up under my watch. But there can only be one head for Project Velocity." I stood and bowed my head slightly in refusal. "Arthur, I'm not capable enough for this role. I can't accept. But Caleb is a true prodigy. He's the one who can lead this company out of its struggles." One. Arthur's face flushed with urgency, his voice rising. "Ethan, do you have any idea what you're saying?" I straightened up, my gaze locking with Sophia's across the polished table. "Arthur," I said calmly, "my skills aren't a good fit to lead Project Velocity. Caleb is brilliant. His concepts are ahead of their time. He's a much better choice than I am. Besides," I added, turning my gaze back to Sophia, "I'm sure Sophia agrees with me." Seeing me yield so easily, her eyes remained cold as ice. "At least you know your place. Whether it was technical expertise or professional experience, I was a better fit for the position than Caleb. Everyone in this room knew it. Before today, it was a foregone conclusion that I would lead the project and that my engagement to Sophia would be announced shortly after. But now, Sophia's icy stare told me everything I needed to know. I understood instantly. She had come back, too. "Fine, if you're so desperate to save your precious childhood sweetheart, I won't stand in your way." Without another word, Sophia turned and hurried out of the conference room. I knew exactly where she was going. At this time, Caleb would be in the lab testing his battery prototypes. The explosion that was supposed to kill him was just hours away. She still had time to stop it. I remained where I was, a cold hollowness spreading through my chest. 10 years of marriage in our past life meant nothing against her devotion to him. "Ethan, what has gotten into you?" Arthur Vance slammed the head of his cane on the floor. I met his disappointed gaze head-on. This was the man who had personally mentored me in mechanical engineering, and now he was looking at me with utter confusion. I spoke calmly. "Arthur, Sophia's heart is with Caleb. I won't compete with him." Arthur and Sophia's mother exchanged a look, seeing the grim determination on their daughter's face as she stormed out. Any words of reprimand died on their lips. 2. I returned to my room in silence, packing only a few changes of clothes and a single external hard drive, the one containing the core of the project. The next morning, a company-wide email announced the new appointment. Caleb Reed was the new director of Project Velocity. The email included a professionally shot photo of him looking bold and ambitious. I slipped the hard drive into my backpack, my face in a motionless mask. Just before noon, a furious argument erupted from the executive offices downstairs. Standing at the end of the hall, I could hear Caleb's roar. "Sophia, you promised me. You said as soon as I was made director, you'd hand over the partnership with the Germans. So why is Ethan Hayes' name still on the account?" Sophia's voice was placating. "Caleb, Ethan handled all the preliminary technical briefings. If we swap him out now, the Germans will have questions." "I don't care," Caleb shot back. "I'm the future of this company. Sophia, are you seriously going to trust an outsider over me?" The German partnership was Vance Automotive's key to acquiring the latest battery management system. In my past life, I had secured that deal and optimized the technology, which was the critical factor in our new car's success. Sophia knew all of this. A few minutes later, my phone rang. It was Arthur. The old man sat behind his desk, looking exhausted. "Ethan, about this." "I'm sorry," he said, unable to meet my eyes. The pieces clicked into place. Sophia had caved and given the German partnership to Caleb. I replied in a neutral tone. Arthur, you don't have to say anything. I understand. Arthur finally looked up at me, his expression a mix of guilt and frustration. He had always treated me like a grandson, but caught between the demands of his actual granddaughter and the successor he'd handpicked, he had chosen blood. I pulled the hard drive from my backpack, the culmination of my life's work, and placed it on the desk in front of him. This drive has all the data and technical schematics for Project Velocity, including all the materials for the German partnership. Every single file on that drive represented countless sleepless nights. Seeing my placid expression, Arthur's lips moved, but no words came out. I stood and gave him a deep, formal bow. Arthur, I will never forget what you've taught me over the years. Just then, the door swung open and Sophia and Caleb walked in. Did he agree? Sophia asked, looking straight at her grandfather, not even glancing at me. Arthur nodded grimly. Caleb immediately reached for the hard drive. Wait, I said suddenly. Caleb shot me a suspicious glare. What now, Ethan? What are you trying to pull? I shook my head and pulled a folded document from my pocket. This is the most important part of the German deal, the battery safety protocol. I just finished drafting it last night and haven't uploaded it to the drive yet. Caleb snatched the document from my hand. As he scanned the stringent clauses and technical specifications, his face paled. The standards in this protocol are incredibly high, I explained evenly. If you fail to meet a single one, the Germans will revoke the technology license, and the tens of millions we've already invested will go down the drain. I looked him in the eye. With your designs, meeting these standards shouldn't be a problem for you, right? Caleb's face turned beet red, but he forced a scoff. Stop being so alarmist. It's just a safety protocol. I'll have it sorted out in 5 minutes. I said nothing more. Caleb's entire approach, sacrificing safety for performance, was a ticking time bomb. Sophia's voice cut through the tension. You can go now. From this day forward, Vance Automotive and you, Ethan Hayes, have nothing to do with each other. I was about to leave when Caleb stopped me. Hold on a minute. He sneered. Since Ethan is no longer the project director, that means he's not really part of the family, is he? According to the rules, everything he has belongs to the Vances. Before he leaves, shouldn't he leave all of it behind? He turned to Sophia. Right, Sophia. I turned back, ignoring Caleb's triumphant smirk, and fixed my eyes on Sophia. Is this what you want? She stood there, her gaze flickering away for a second. But in the end, her silence was her answer. Hearing this, Arthur was so enraged he smashed his teacup on the floor. You bastard. Ethan has been in this family for 8 years. Even if he's not my grandson-in-law, he's like a grandson to me. Grandpa. Sophia finally spoke, but it was to defend Caleb. Caleb's right. If he's leaving, we should settle things now to avoid problems later. I looked at her, and a bitter laugh escaped my lips. Arthur, if this is Sophia's decision, I'll respect it. But if we're settling accounts, then let's settle all of them. I came to the Vance family when I was 20. I learned everything I know about this industry from you. It's been exactly 8 years. Caleb let out a dismissive snort. So what? You want a prize for that? I shot him a sidelong glance and continued. In my second year, I redesigned the production line workflow, saving the company over $3 million annually. In my fourth year, the chassis tuning system, I designed one Vance, the biggest municipal fleet contract of the year. In my sixth year, to solve the engine overheating issue, I listed my accomplishments one by one. With every achievement I mentioned, the color drained a little more from Sophia's face. Add it all up. Over 8 years, the profit I've generated for Vance Automotive far exceeds anything the family has ever given me. Sophia's lips were pressed into a thin, white line. She, of all people, knew the weight of my contributions. In our past life, it was this foundation that allowed me to resurrect the company from the brink. The Vances took me in for 8 years, and I gave my life to this company for 8 years. The work I put in is more than enough to repay Arthur for his mentorship. From this day forward, we owe each other nothing. But Caleb just laughed, his voice dripping with condescension. Nice speech. But the car you drive, the apartment you live in, do you actually own any of it? He stepped forward and pointed to the car key in my pocket. This Mercedes company car, right? He then pointed to the watch on my wrist. That Vacheron Constantine? That's got to be worth 100 grand. You think a charity case like you could afford that? Finally, he gestured to the files on the desk. And that condo you have at the Overlook Residences? Arthur gave you that, didn't he? Every single one of these things belongs to the fiancée. I let him mock me, my eyes never leaving Sophia. She remained silent. Sophia, I couldn't help but ask, my voice low. That year, on my birthday, you whispered a promise in my ear. Have you forgotten it? 4. Finally, she forced 2 words through her teeth. I have. I thought that after being reborn, my heart had turned to stone. But those 2 words still pierced through it like a shard of ice. I fought down the dull ache in my chest and began unfastening the watch from my wrist. Arthur shot to his feet. Ethan, don't. Arthur. I interrupted him, placing the watch on the desk. Rules are rules. The car key, the condo key. I took them out one by one and placed them next to the watch. Finally, I took off the expensive suit jacket I was wearing, folded it neatly, and laid it on the desk. All I had left on was a thin, white button-down shirt. A look of pure, vindictive pleasure spread across Caleb's face. Sophia finally broke. That's enough. Stop. I looked at her calmly. From now on, I am just me. I am Ethan Hayes, and I am no longer the fiancée heir apparent. I slung my backpack over my shoulder. As I walked out of the office, the hallway was crowded with employees pretending to work, but really just there to watch the spectacle. On the company's internal forum, the post announcing my dismissal was already pinned to the top. My colleagues' whispers and pointed stares felt like needles on my skin. Look, that's him. The charity case finally got kicked out. Did he really think he could marry into the family? He should have looked in a mirror. Without the fiancée, what is he? He's nothing. My steps felt heavy as I walked through the gauntlet of judgment. Just as I stepped out of the main entrance of the Vance Automotive Tower, a black Rolls-Royce pulled up silently in front of me. The tinted window rolled down, revealing the serious face of a middle-aged man. Mr. Ethan Hayes? He asked. We're from a National Advanced Mobility Consortium. Our director would like to have a word with you. 5. With my backpack on, I got into the black Rolls-Royce. The car drove smoothly toward the outskirts of the city, stopping before a heavily secured, modern complex. A dignified plaque at the entrance read, National Advanced Mobility Consortium. The man led me through a series of corridors and into a spacious office. An older gentleman with a full head of white hair was seated behind a large desk. The moment he saw me, he stood and extended a hand warmly. Mr. Hayes, it's a pleasure. I'm the director here, Robert Sterling. I was taken aback by the welcome, shaking his hand quickly. Director Sterling, the pleasure is all mine. Please sit. No need to be so formal. Director Sterling gestured to a chair. He poured me a cup of hot tea himself before getting straight to the point. We've been following your career for a long time. We're familiar with every project you've led at Vance Automotive. Your patents in the field of battery safety, in particular, are remarkably forward-thinking. My heart skipped a beat. Director Sterling looked at me, his eyes filled with genuine admiration. So, you can imagine our surprise when Vance Automotive announced that Caleb Reed would be heading Project Velocity. He sighed. We've evaluated Mr. Reed's design proposals here at the consortium. In his pursuit of extreme performance and range, he's sacrificed the most fundamental safety redundancies. To put it bluntly, he hasn't designed an electric vehicle. He's designed a bomb on wheels. We couldn't understand how the fiancée could make such a reckless decision. I remained silent, offering no explanation of my history with the family. The Germans aren't fools, either, Director Sterling continued. He pulled a file from his drawer and slid it across the desk to me. This is an internal communication they shared with us. They formally requested that the consortium conduct a final safety assessment of Caleb's design. The moment our assessment fails it, they will terminate the partnership immediately and sue for massive breach of contract damages. I opened the file. It was clear the Germans had been doubting Caleb's competence for a while. They hadn't pulled their investment yet because they were waiting for an official, undeniable justification. The NAMS report would be the final nail in the coffin. Vance Automotive is heading for a catastrophic failure, Director Sterling said, shaking his head. But that's not something we want to see. The American auto industry needs steady, solid progress, not this kind of suicidal gambit. His gaze was intense. Ethan, your country needs you. On behalf of the National Advanced Mobility Consortium, I am formally inviting you to join us. We are preparing to launch a brand new initiative, codenamed Project Prometheus. Our goal is to develop the world's safest, highest-performing new generation power cell. And I want you to be the chief engineer. Director Sterling stood, his tone solemn. As for compensation, we can offer you triple your current salary. You will also be provided with a private laboratory and a residence in our executive apartments. Whatever resources you need, the full backing of this nation will be at your disposal. I barely hesitated. Director Sterling, I accept. In my past life, I exhausted myself for the Vance family, only to be destroyed by them. In this life, the chance to serve my country was more than I could have ever hoped for. 6. I completed my new hire paperwork that same afternoon. The consortium was incredibly efficient. My office, lab, and apartment were all ready by the end of the day. As I was unpacking, my phone rang. I answered it. Ethan, where are you right now? It was Sophia, her voice frantic. I ignored her question. Do you need something? There was a pause on the other end. Are you still angry with me? She asked. I know you're upset that I made you give up the project. But Caleb, I cut her off. Ms. Vance, we don't owe each other anything anymore. If that's all you called to say, I'm afraid I don't have time for this. Don't hang up, she begged. Ethan, I just heard. You joined the NEMC. Word traveled fast. Yes, I confirmed calmly. How could you, she burst out. The Vances supported you for 8 years. Now that you're on your feet, you just walk away? What do you think Vance Automotive is? A hotel you can just check in and out of? I had a laugh at the absurdity. Ms. Vance, you were the one who told me to leave. You were the one who said that you and I were finished. And you were the one who stood by while I returned everything the Vances ever gave me. Or have you forgotten already? Sophia was speechless. Her voice softened, cracking with emotion. Ethan, I was wrong. Please come back. You can't go to the consortium. Vance Automotive needs you. Without you, what's going to happen to Project Velocity? That, I said coldly, is Caleb's problem to solve. No, he can't do it, she cried. This afternoon, the first stress test on the battery module failed. The data is unstable, and the thermal management system is tripping all the alarms. Caleb has no idea what to do. He's just in there screaming at the engineers. It was all happening exactly as I predicted. Ethan, come back. I'll give you the director position back. The German partnership, everything, it's all yours. If you just come back, we can get married right away. Her words, which once would have meant the world to me, now sounded pathetic. I was no longer the fool from my past life. Sophia, I said, my voice devoid of warmth. Do you really believe the entire world revolves around you? When you want me gone, I'm supposed to disappear. When you want me back, I'm supposed to come running with my tail between my legs. I'm sorry, but I'm not your dog. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. Back at the Vance Automotive offices, Caleb was throwing a tantrum, surrounded by printouts of incomprehensible data. This team is useless. They can't even get a simple thermal system to work. We never had these problems when Ethan was here. Sitting nearby, Arthur Vance's expression grew darker and darker. For the first time, he began to doubt his decision. That evening, I moved into the executive apartment provided by the consortium. It was 100 times better than the small room I'd had at the Vance estate. As I was unpacking, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find a young woman with her hair tied back in a ponytail. She was holding a stack of files and had a warm, friendly smile. Hi, you must be Ethan Hayes. I am. And you are. My name is Lena Clark. I'm an engineer on the Project Prometheus team, she said. Director Sterling asked me to drop off the preliminary project files. He also wanted me to see if you needed anything and help you get settled in. Thank you, please come in. I stepped aside to let her in. Lena placed the files on the table. Mr. Hayes, your reputation precedes you around here. Several of the senior researchers have said your insights on battery safety are even more advanced than their own. She looked at me with an expression of pure, sincere admiration, a look I had never once received in my 8 years with the Vances. 7. A week later, Project Prometheus was progressing at an incredible pace. With the full resources of a national institution and the knowledge I'd retained from my past life, we quickly overcame several critical technical hurdles. Lena was a phenomenal partner, recording data by my side and constantly offering insightful suggestions. We developed a seamless working rhythm. Just then, Director Sterling's assistant rushed into the lab. "Mr. Hayes, the director would like to see you in his office." I put down my tools and followed the assistant. Director Sterling was staring grimly at his computer monitor. "Ethan, you need to see this." I stepped forward. On the screen was the final assessment report from the German firm's independent testers. I scanned it quickly. Every single key performance indicator was marked in red. Fail. The conclusion was blunt. The battery design possesses fundamental architectural flaws and is not viable for commercial production. The Germans have already sent this report to Vance Automotive, Director Sterling said in a low voice, along with a letter from their legal department. They're demanding an immediate halt to the project and are suing for $80 million to cover their initial investment and associated losses. On top of that, they're going to publicly announce the permanent revocation of their technology license to Vance. The outcome was even more severe than I had anticipated. In my past life, Caleb's battery only exploded after it went into small batch production. This time, my absence had accelerated the crisis. This is a death blow for Vance Automotive, the director's side. Once this news goes public, their stock will collapse. The banks will call in their loans. A multi-billion-dollar corporation could be wiped out, just like that. I stared at the report, feeling nothing. This was the choice Sophia and Caleb had made. It was time for them to pay the price for their arrogance. As Director Sterling predicted, the news hit Vance Automotive like a bombshell. The moment Arthur Vance saw the letter from the German lawyers, his blood pressure spiked, and he collapsed. He was rushed to the hospital. With its leader incapacitated, the company descended into chaos. Sophia stood alone in a sterile hospital corridor, clutching her phone. She dialed my number again and again, only to be met with the same automated message. "The person you are calling is unavailable." She tried my office line at the consortium, the main switchboard, everything. It was as if I had vanished from the face of the earth. For the first time, she truly understood that the man she had cast aside was the only one who could have saved her family. The next day, Vance Automotive stock was halted after hitting its circuit breaker at the opening bell. The financial news was brutal, with headlines about technological fraud and the collapse of the German partnership dominating every outlet. At the emergency board meeting, the shareholders were furious. "Where is Caleb Reed? Get him in here to explain himself. Who was the idiot who approved putting a kid in charge of our most important project? We need to fire Reed immediately and get Ethan Hayes back. He's right. Only Ethan can save us now." Sophia sat at the head of the table, her face as white as a sheet. That afternoon, I was walking with Lena to the cafeteria for lunch. Just as we stepped outside the main building, I saw Sophia waiting by the gate. The pride and arrogance were gone, replaced by a deep, hollow-eyed exhaustion. The moment she saw me, she ran forward, screaming my name. "Ethan!" Security guards immediately moved to intercept her. "Ma'am, this is a restricted federal facility. You can't be here." "Ethan, it's me. It's Sophia," she yelled, struggling against them. I stopped. Lena shot me a worried look. "Ethan, maybe we should use another exit?" "It's fine," I said quietly. Some things needed to be settled face to face. I walked toward the gate, my expression unreadable. "Can I help you, Ms. Vance?" Her eyes instantly filled with tears. "Ethan, I was wrong," she sobbed. "I was so wrong." Right there, in front of everyone, she broke down completely. "I never should have given the project to Caleb. I never should have let you go. I was out of my mind, and I betrayed you. Please, I'm begging you come back. Vance Automotive can't survive without you. My grandfather, he's in the hospital. If you come back, I'll do anything. I'll get on my knees and beg." As she spoke, her knees began to buckle. My voice was cold as stone. "Sophia, do you remember what you said to me the day I left? You said, from this day forward, Vance Automotive and you, Ethan Hayes, have nothing to do with each other. I remember those words very clearly. Therefore, the life or death of your company has nothing to do with me." Every word was a razor blade, slicing away at what was left of her hope. "No, that's not what I meant. Ethan, I was just angry," she stammered. I cut her off. "Well, I took you at your word. I work for the United States government now. Project Prometheus is a matter of national strategic importance. I will not abandon my duty to clean up your family's mess. I turn to leave. Please don't come here again. Do not interfere with my work or my life. You and I, we don't live in the same world anymore. With that, I walked away with Lena, leaving Sophia's heart-wrenching sobs behind me. 8. The day after Sophia came to find me, disaster struck at Vance Automotive. Unwilling to accept defeat, Caleb pushed the battery's energy density far beyond its stable limits, hoping to fake the performance data and win back the Germans. During a new round of stress tests, one of the modules couldn't take the strain. It exploded. The blast itself was small, but it ignited nearby chemical stores. The entire Project Velocity Core laboratory was engulfed in flames. The fire department responded quickly, and thankfully, no one was injured. But the fire destroyed everything. The lab equipment, the prototype batteries, and all the technical data. Project Velocity was officially dead. When the Germans learned of the explosion, they held a press conference immediately, formally terminating all cooperation with Vance Automotive. They initiated legal proceedings to recover their $80 million investment and damages. The news sent Vance Automotive's stock into a freefall. It dropped the maximum limit for 3 days straight, erasing nearly $10 billion in market value. In the hospital, Arthur Vance saw the news on television, suffered a massive heart attack, and slipped into a coma. When he finally woke up, he looked as if he had aged 20 years. Lying in his hospital bed, he clutched Sophia's hand, tears streaming down his withered cheeks. Sophia, it was my fault. I never should have forced Ethan out. We ruined our own family. Sophia knelt by his bed, her body racked with sobs. Grandpa, don't say that. There's still a chance. I'll get Ethan back. I swear I will. Only he can save us now. Arthur whispered, his voice faint. You have to beg him. Do whatever it takes. Even if you have to kneel. You must bring him back. Sophia wiped her tears, her face set with a desperate resolve. She drove straight from the hospital to the gates of the NEMC. This time, without a word, she dropped to her knees on the hard pavement. She knelt there, perfectly still, a silent statue of desperation. It didn't take long for the media to arrive. Eris begs forgiveness from ex-fiancée. Vance Automotive genius forced out. The truth behind the betrayal. The sensational headlines spread like wildfire across the internet. Security guards tried to persuade her to leave, but she refused to move. I'm not leaving until Ethan Hayes comes out to see me. I'll kneel here until I die, if I have to. The news reached my office. Lena was scrolling through the articles on her phone, a deep frown on her face. She's using the media to pressure you. If you don't go out there, you'll be painted as the villain, cold and heartless. I set down the report I was reading and glanced out the window. A small crowd had already gathered. Let her kneel, I said calmly. Lena, could you please call security for me? Let them know there's an individual causing a public disturbance at the main gate and severely disrupting the consortium's operations. Ask them to handle it according to protocol. Lena understood immediately. Right away. A few minutes later, 2 security guards walked out. They took Sophia by the arms and, despite her protests, escorted her off the property. I watched from the window, my heart a placid lake. When I was sent to prison to die, did a single member of the Vance family spare a thought for me? Over the next few days, Vance Automotive situation became critical. The banks, once so eager to offer loans, now demanded immediate repayment of all outstanding debts. Suppliers cut off their lines of credit and picketed the company headquarters, demanding payment. A mass exodus of employees began, leaving the company in a state of paralysis. Meanwhile, at the consortium, my team, led by Lena and me, successfully developed the first prototype of the Prometheus battery. Internal testing revealed astonishing results. Its safety rating was over 5 times higher than any battery currently on the market. Its energy density was 20% greater than even Caleb's reckless design. Its cycle life was at the absolute peak of the industry. When Director Sterling saw the test results, his hands were trembling with excitement. We did it. We actually did it. He decided to hold a press conference immediately to announce our breakthrough to the world. The event was packed with every major media outlet. When I, as the project's chief engineer, stood at the podium and revealed the data that would revolutionize the industry, a stunned silence fell over the room, followed by a roar of thunderous applause. Overnight, my name became legendary in the automotive world. 9. The next day, I received a phone call that stunned me. The man on the line introduced himself as a senior vice president from Tesla headquarters. He praised my technological achievement profusely before getting straight to the point. "Mr. Hayes, we would be honored to have you join Tesla as the chief scientist of our global battery R&D center. We are prepared to offer you an annual salary of $10 million, plus 1% of the company's founding stock. You would have your own independent research team and an unlimited budget. We believe that with your talent and Tesla's platform, we can change the world together." The offer was astronomical. If I accepted, I would achieve financial freedom in an instant and become one of the most powerful figures in global technology. Everyone assumed I would take it. Even Director Sterling called me in for a talk, worried that the nation was about to lose the very talent it had just begun to nurture. Right there, in his office, I called the Tesla VP back. "Thank you very much for your generous offer," I said, with the director listening intently. "But I cannot accept. My technology belongs to my country, and I will only ever work for my country." The vice president on the other end was silent for a long moment before finally and respectfully accepting my decision. Director Sterling gripped my hand, his eyes shining with pride. "Well done, Ethan. We knew we could count on you." The news that I had turned down a fortune from Tesla created another media sensation. People were in awe not just of my technical skill, but of my patriotism. And so, Sophia and Caleb appeared at the gates of the NAMC one more time. This time, I had security let them in. In my office, I finally came face to face with the two people who had destroyed my previous life. Sophia looked even more haggard than before. Caleb had lost all of his former arrogance. He just looked broken. As soon as they entered, Caleb bowed deeply before me. "Ethan, I'm sorry," he choked out. "I admit it. My skills are nothing compared to yours. I was too arrogant, too desperate to prove myself, and I ruined everything. I'm begging you, for Arthur's sake, please save the company." Sophia spoke next, her voice trembling. "Ethan, we know we were wrong. Whatever you want, buy out the company, take a controlling stake for your technology. We'll agree to any terms. Vance Automotive can't be allowed to fail. It was my grandfather's life's work." I sat behind my desk, listening quietly to their belated confessions. "If only you'd had this clarity then." Back in Arthur's office, I began, my voice even. "He gave you a choice. You chose to trust Caleb, and you chose to abandon me. That was your decision. Now, you must live with the consequences of that decision." Caleb's face flushed with shame. A bitter, broken laugh escaped Sophia's lips. "I see. So you still hate us." I shook my head slowly. "No, I don't hate you, because you're no longer worthy of my hatred. Please leave." They stumbled out of my office like ghosts. To save their collapsing company, the Van Cess began liquidating their assets. But it was like using a bucket to bail out a sinking ship. The hole was too big. My life, however, was just beginning. That evening, Lena and I were walking by the lake on the consortium grounds, talking about our work, about the future. Suddenly, she stopped and looked at me, her expression serious. "Ethan," she said, "I'm falling for you." My heart stopped. "The day you turned down Tesla. That's when I knew. I saw a man who was not only brilliant, but who had integrity, who had character. I know you've been hurt badly in the past, but I don't care. I just want you to know, whatever comes next, I want to walk that road with you." Her eyes were clear and unwavering. Looking at her, the shadows of my past life finally, completely dissipated. I took her hand in mine. "Lena, I'm falling for you too." And just like that, we were together. At the end of the year, the National Medal of Technology and Innovation ceremony was held in Washington, D.C. Project Prometheus was awarded the highest honor. As the project lead, I went on stage to accept the award on behalf of my entire team. Standing in the spotlight, holding the medal, my heart was full. During my acceptance speech, my eyes found Lena in the audience. "There's one person I have to thank above all others," I said, my voice ringing with emotion. "My girlfriend and my most important partner, Dr. Lena Clark." Her support and companionship helped me climb out of the darkest period of my life. Her kindness and grace healed me. Half of this award belongs to her. 10. After selling off every last asset, Vance Automotive still couldn't cover its debts. The company officially filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. When the news reached the hospital, Arthur Vance, lying in his bed, let out a final, agonizing wail. I failed my ancestors. I failed my family. If only I had insisted that Ethan stay. How did it come to this? But the world doesn't offer second chances. With the bankruptcy, the Vance family was forced to move from their sprawling estate into a small, rundown apartment. Shortly after receiving the National Medal, I proposed to Lena. Our engagement was a small, private affair, but the news still made the front page of every major business journal. The photos showed me sliding a diamond ring onto Lena's finger, her face glowing with pure happiness. After the bankruptcy, Sophia had to take odd jobs to make ends meet. One day, scrolling on her phone, she saw the picture of me and Lena, smiling and in love. The image shattered her. The man who should have been hers, the love that should have been hers, now belonged to another woman. She broke down and sobbed, right there on the street. From that day on, she sought refuge in alcohol, spending her nights in cheap bars, drinking herself into oblivion. Caleb's fate was even worse. Because of the lab explosion, his name was blacklisted throughout the industry. No company would hire him. Jobless and broke, he turned his resentment on Sophia. This is all your fault. Why did you have to choose me? If you had just let Ethan run the project, none of this would have happened. He blamed her for everything. The childhood sweethearts became bitter enemies, their days filled with screaming matches and drunken accusations. One day, I received a call from the Van Cess old butler. He told me Arthur was on his deathbed. His last wish was to see me one final time. I hesitated, but I agreed. In the end, he was the only member of that family who had ever shown me true kindness. In the sterile hospital room, I saw Arthur Vance, now a fragile skeleton. When he saw me, he struggled to sit up. I rushed forward to help him. Arthur. He grabbed my hand, his grip surprisingly strong. Ethan, you came. I'm so sorry. I'm not asking you to save the family. I'm just asking you to forgive. Forgive Sophia. She knows she was wrong. In her heart, she always loved you. I remained silent. Seeing that I wouldn't answer, a single tear rolled down Arthur's cheek. His grip on my hand slowly went slack. Arthur Vance's funeral was a quiet, lonely affair with few in attendance. I went with Lena to pay my respects at his gravesite. Standing before the headstone, I gave a deep bow. Arthur, I will never forget the kindness and wisdom you shared with me. May you rest in peace. As for Sophia, the debts between us are settled. From now on, we are strangers. 11. 2 years later, with government backing, I spun Project Prometheus out of the NEMC and founded my own company. With our batteries technological lead, we dominated the market almost immediately. Lena resigned from the consortium to become my COO. Together, we built an empire. A year after that, our company went public. On the day of the IPO, I stood on the balcony of the stock exchange, ready to ring the opening bell. Standing beside me, dressed in a sharp power suit, was Lena. In my past life, on this very balcony, Sophia had destroyed me. This life, I was ringing the bell for myself. As the sound echoed through the hall, I looked at Lena, and a smile of pure, unadulterated joy spread across my face. After the bankruptcy, to pay off lingering debts, Sophia started working as a hostess in a nightclub. The once proud heiress now had to force a smile for greasy, leering men. The hardship and mental anguish aged her rapidly. Still in her late 20s, she looked like a woman in her 40s. Caleb lost his mind completely. He was eventually committed to a psychiatric hospital. A month after the IPO, Lena and I had our wedding. We held the ceremony on a cliff overlooking the ocean. The guest list was a who's who of the tech and auto industries. Lena, in her white gown, was breathtaking. In front of all our friends and family, I slipped the wedding band on her finger. Lena Clark, do you take me, Ethan Hayes, to be your husband? To have and to hold, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until the end of time. I do, she answered, tears of joy in her eyes. We sealed our vows with a kiss. Watching the live stream of our wedding on a cracked phone screen, Sophia's tears flowed freely. Only now, at the absolute bottom, did she finally understand what she had lost. She had thrown away the only man in the world who had ever loved her enough to give her everything. And he was never, ever coming back. 5 years later, I was in the backyard of our house with Lena and our son, who was just learning to walk. We called him Andy, for Andrew, strong and manly. "Dad out." Andy stretched out his chubby little arms, toddling unsteadily toward me. I laughed and swept him up into my arms. Lena watched us from a lounge chair, a look of serene contentment on her face. A successful career, a beautiful family. This was my happy ending.